Hi, I'm Annika from iDoc, and in this video I'll show you how you can easily replace the screen of your Galaxy A53 5G. I would like to take this opportunity to thank you for your great support and trust in this channel. However, our statistics show that 98% of you have not subscribed yet. If the same goes for you, we would be very happy if you make up for it at this point. With your subscription, you will not only support our channel, but also won't miss any of our new videos. Replacing the screen of the Galaxy A53 5G is the most complex repair, because all components, including the battery, have to be removed. Allow about 90 to 120 minutes for it. You will need the following tools. In addition, these tools can be helpful. You can find all tools as well as an original replacement screen in our online store at idoc.eu/en. We've put the links in the info box. Don't forget to turn off your smartphone before the repair to avoid a potential short circuit. To do so, press the function and silent key simultaneously for a few seconds. The A53 is opened via the heavily glued back cover. To remove it, you first have to heat its edge for a few minutes. Use a heat gun or a normal hairdryer for this. Please note that the device warranty, as well as the specified IP certification, expires after opening. Once the back cover is sufficiently heated, place a suction cup on its lower edge and pull it upwards to create a gap between the back cover and the screen unit. At the same time, insert a flat plastic pick into the gap. If you have difficulties with this, the flex can help at the beginning. Its sharp metal edges make it particularly easy to insert. However, you should switch back to a plastic tool as soon as possible to avoid scratching anything. As an alternative to the suction cup, we can recommend the iSlack. Thanks to its leverage, you have to use less force to lift up the back cover. Once the beginning is made, run your tool around the back cover and detach it from the rest of the case unit bit by bit. Leave flat plastic picks in the loosened areas so that the glue cannot bond again. To facilitate the loosening, you can warm up the edge of the back cover in between. Around the camera module, we recommend using a hard plastic pick. Due to its rounded corners, you can't insert it too far and therefore don't run the risk of damaging the sensitive camera lenses. Once the back cover is completely loose, you can remove all tools and take it off. In the next step, remove the plastic cover above the motherboard. To do so, loosen the 8 Phillips screws that hold it in place. To avoid losing the small screws, we recommend using a magnetic pad. A small arrow and a notch on the component show you where you can best place your tool to pry it out. We use the pointed end of an ESD spudger for this purpose. Now the battery is exposed and you can disconnect it. Always disconnect the battery as early as possible to avoid a short circuit. Be careful not to damage any small components on the board. Now remove the speaker. It is fastened with 7 Phillips screws. Loosen the screws. Then lever it out of its guide. Remove the connecting cable above the battery. Therefore, separate its 3 connectors and take it out of the device. Now you can loosen the battery. It is heavily glued and therefore has to be warmed up for a few minutes. Never hit the battery directly, but only from the edge of the case frame or the side of the screen glass. Once the glue has liquefied a bit, you can use a battery spatula and carefully lever it upwards. Try for yourself from which side it can be loosened best. As soon as the battery is slightly lifted, you can slide a flat plastic tool, such as the air plastics, under the battery. Push the tool further and further under the battery with a cutting motion until the battery is completely detached. You can now see the extensive glue on the back of the battery. Next, you have to remove the front camera. Separate its connector from the motherboard. Since it is not glued, you can remove it directly from the device. Now detach the two antenna cables from the USB and motherboard. We recommend using tweezers to separate the small metal connectors. However, the tweezers must be ESD certified to avoid damaging the board. Once the connectors are separated, you can pull the cables out of their guide in the edge of the case. At this point, you can remove the motherboard. Start by unscrewing the single Phillips screw that holds it in place. Then lever it out. Be careful not to damage the still connected camera module. Remove the vibration motor. It is slightly glued. To loosen it more easily, you can heat it briefly with hot air. Then run a pair of tweezers underneath the motor to separate it from the case bottom. Continue with the slightly glued screen cable. Heat it briefly and then carefully detach it from the USB board. Before you can remove the USB board, you first have to remove the SIM tray. Use a SIM tool to press into the small opening of the SIM tray to push it out of the case frame. Then pull it out completely. Separate the connector of the fingerprint sensor from the USB board. Then loosen the two Phillips screws that hold it in place. Finally, you can lever the board out. You also have to take over the fingerprint sensor when replacing the screen. Heat it briefly with hot air so that the glued sensor can be released more easily. Again, we recommend using ESD tweezers. You can find an original replacement screen for your Galaxy A53 5G and the right tools for this repair in our online store at idoc.eu/en. Prepare your replacement screen by removing all seals and protective films from the inside. You can leave the protective film on the screen glass until the end of the repair to protect it from scratches. First, place the fingerprint sensor into the new screen unit. Press it firmly so that the remaining glue can bond again. The USB board follows. In order for it to sit level, the charging jack has to fit properly into the case frame. Fix it with two Phillips screws. Then carefully reconnect the fingerprint sensor. It must audibly and noticeably snap into place. Be especially careful when attaching connectors and never press them down with force. A damaged connector can lead to the failure of an entire component. Now insert the SIM tray. Make sure to insert it the right way around. Press the screen cable back onto the USB board. Then put the vibration motor back into its guide and press it firmly. Continue with the motherboard. Be careful not to damage the connected camera module when inserting it. As soon as the board sits level everywhere, you can screw it in place. Now reattach the two antenna cables. Start with the white cable. Carefully press its small metal plug onto the motherboard. Then push the cable back into its guide in the edge of the case. Press the second connector onto the USB board. Proceed the same way with the black antenna cable. The metal connectors are seated correctly when you can hear and feel them click into place. Insert the front camera and press its connector onto the motherboard. The battery follows. Put it back in the screen unit and press it firmly. The remaining glue on the back is usually enough to securely reattach it. Position the connecting cable over the battery. The labeling on the cable helps you with the alignment. Carefully press its three connectors onto the USB and motherboard. Now insert the speaker. Its plastic lugs must fit into the case frame. If the speaker sits level, you can screw it in place. Connect the battery at this point. You should always connect the battery as late as possible to avoid a short circuit. Now insert the board cover. In order for it to sit level, its plastic lugs must fit into the case frame. If they do not, the board may not sit completely level. Screw the cover in place with the 8 Phillips screws. Before you finally close your A53 again, we recommend testing the new screen at this point. Turn on your device for this purpose. Then, drag an app across the screen to see if the touch responds everywhere. Test more basic functions by opening the Samsung test menu. Our checklist will help you to keep an overview while testing. We link it to you in the info box. If something does not work properly, check again if all components are connected and screwed correctly. If everything is okay, you can reattach the back cover. If its adhesive frame is still in good condition, you can simply reuse it. If it has defects or no longer sticks properly, you should remove it and attach a new one. Align the new adhesive frame with the back cover. The cutouts in the film will help you do this. Remove the carrier film of the adhesive frame and press it along the edge of the back cover. You can use a spatula, for example, to help you do this. If the adhesive frame sits correctly, remove the remaining protective film. Reattach the back cover to the screen unit. Press it firmly along the frame so that it sits evenly everywhere. To make the glue bond properly, warm up the edge of the back cover for a few minutes and then weigh it down with some books. You did it! Your Galaxy A53 5G now looks like new again. I hope the repair of your Galaxy A53 5G was successful. If you found this tutorial helpful, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you next time! You can find high-quality tools, spare parts and accessories for your smartphone repair in our store, iDoc. Everything for your smartphone. Find more repair guides and other helpful videos here.